everyone. Welcome back to another week of
The Fire You Can't Put Out.
Awesome. All right, we're getting better at this. So,
yes, we are.
Matt, we have a lot of stuff to cover today. You know, just 1 week. Like, there's news all over the place. So, we have a lot to go through today. So, let's dive right into it. The housekeeping stuff, of course. We have a Facebook page. We're at facebook.com/TFYCPO, which stands for
The Fire You Can't Put Out.
Yay! Again, it's www.facebook.com/TFYCPO. We also have a email address, tfycpo@gmail.com. And again, once again, we need to thank the guys at Open Sky Radio down in San Francisco, California. They have been,
thank you, Open Sky.
Yeah, they have been giving us a lot of help. It's just not just TFYCPO, but there are other really IT related hairy stuff lately that they just above and beyond. So, and also you can subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Just either go to our Facebook page, click the link, or just go to Facebook, just go to iTunes store and search The Fire You Can't Put Out.
The Fire You Can't Put Out. And once you punch in the fire, most of the times it actually auto-completes it for you.
Okay, so let's get to the show. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Let me begin, if I may, over here in Portland, Oregon. Now, of course, this show was born out of the disastrous decision. And by the way, it's been almost a year now. We're about 2 or 3 weeks away from it being a year since KPTQ was pulled off the air in Spokane, Washington,
right.
Which is how Angela and I met to start up the Bring Back page. And then shortly after that, KPOJ was taken down in Portland. And then over in Seattle, they lost 1080. But here's the thing. When KPOJ 620 was taken down in Portland, they said, hey, it's not a political decision. It's a business decision. This is the second time now that the Arbitron numbers have come out on KPOJ, and you're going to love this. They said, we can't keep KPOJ around because it only has a 0.8 share. That's just not enough. We need another station that's going to bring in a larger share. The last night numbers came out and the number dropped. The numbers came out again and they now have a whopping 0.1 share.
Insane.
1/8 of the audience that they had before. They're dead last, even below the station that we thought nobody listened to here. They're actually after that one.
Yeah, they're behind the station to talk about knitting and.
So it's not political. Well, it's probably something like the.
What's wrong with knitting?
Like,
okay, I'm gonna.
How about this?
Hey, Mel.
You know what's on that station? The sound of a crackling fire. That's it. It's just hours and hours of crackling fire.
Just broadcasting. Guys. Just getting soda cans ready for recycling.
It's the sound of it's the sound of ants marching. It's the sound of grass growing. It's absolutely nothing. Yeah. So they have an eighth of the audience they used to do.
Channel, right?
It's a sports. That's right. They switched it to Fox Sports.
Well,
and I remember going on the threads afterwards after it was changed to Fox Sports, and all the conservatives were like, "Yeah, Fox is the only way to make money. F liberals, blah blah blah." Well, you have an eighth of the audience now. No one's listening. You can't sell advertising. I look forward to you returning KPJ to Portland.
If this is never about money. This is never about money. It's BS. This whole, this is not political thing is BS. This is not about money. This is about shutting people up.
Since Bain has taken over Clear Channel, they have just been hemorrhaging money. Yeah. I don't understand why anybody thinks that not only Bain is great, but that Romney would have made a fantastic president.
Oh yeah.
And there's no way you can convince me that, I'm gonna get even more hate mail on this, but I don't think Seattle and Portland are that great of sports town. So there's no way you can convince me that. It's okay to say Seattle. They have 2 or 3 sports stations, right?
Well, here's the thing. And Portland actually is a pretty big sports town, but let me say this. There's already 4 or 5 sports stations here. And here's the thing. Those stations that are here already, the multiple stations, they've already built up an audience.
Yeah.
What you looking at? Oh, sorry. They've already built up an audience, and then all of a sudden, Clear Channel says, "Hey, here's another sports station." And they go, "Meh, I like the one I'm already listening to. Why am I going to switch to yours?"
Right,
And it's really no different.
And in terms of sports, especially for towns like Seattle and Portland, having local coverage is important.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just keep piping a bunch of national sports talk into the area, it's just not going to work.
They go, well, yeah. And, of course, adding another sports station just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, because we've got the Timbers and we got the Blazers here, and those are both pretty popular. Certainly the Blazers more than the Timbers, although I'm a Timbers fan. And then up in Seattle, they've got the Seahawks and the Mariners, but...
I'm sorry, San Jose Earthquake all the way.
That's all right. They've beaten us, and that's okay. All right, let's
not turn this
real news.
Let's not turn this into sports.
This is not sports talk.
This is not sports talk.
Right.
Except go Zags!
Yay!
That's right. Gonzaga is number one.
one.
Right? So weird. Okay, so let's dive into the real news.
All right,
the first thing we're going to go through is a piece actually very heartbreaking. Is the whole Bradley Manning situation. To those listeners who are not, I think people who listen to our show probably know who Bradley Manning is, but we can kind of briefly talk about Bradley Manning. He is a private first class, and when he was in Iraq, I believe he was arrested for leaking information to WikiLeaks, and I'm pretty sure. I hope. I think most everybody have seen that video, that really long video. It's basically an Apache helicopter just taking out people on the ground.
Yes.
It's like a long 30-minute video, and you can actually see people being blown apart. And actually, lucky for us, that video is not in color, so it will be a total mess. And then it actually show they are actually kids in the van that they blew up. Those guys just walking around. And turns out, I believe, there were two of those people who died, who got blown apart, are actually journalists. So, and then they blew up the van, and then when the ground troop comes in, they actually have the armored vehicle ran over some bodies. So it's a horrible situation. And, that is just only one thing that got leaked to WikiLeaks. There are, I believe, 700,000 pieces of information that got leaked over, and Bradley Manning somehow have access to a database that has all these information, and through online chat and whatever means, this information got out.
Well, he was an intelligence analyst.
Right.
Okay.
At 10th Mountain Division.
Right.
So he has been, after he got arrested, he has been treated pretty roughly. He is in a really brutal form of solitary confinement for a long, long time. And looks like the recent development is he pleaded guilty on many charges, except for aiding the enemy, which can get him life sentence. But because he plead not guilty on that one, he only plead guilty on the other ones. He might get up to 20 years in jail.
If I may,
Go ahead.
He's pleaded guilty to 10 of the 22 charges. And, of course, like you said, he's facing 22 years. Now, here is I want to take, for me anyway, I want to take this, why this story means anything to me from a non-technical perspective. The way that wars are fought, the way that the people back home, the way the war is fought at home, the way military families, the way we as civilians deal with this has changed so dramatically.
Absolutely.
Obviously, there was a time when wars were fought. There was just muskets and single shots, and it was all in broad daylight. And then, of course, you move up to World War I and World War II, and even up to Vietnam. And when they came back, of course, they were spat upon because everybody back then hated the war. But here's what has happened since that time. War has gone into complete hiding. We don't have the draft anymore. So when people hear we're going to war, there's a complete disconnect. When they say 100 people died today, numb to the numbers. There's a complete disconnect. Right. What I think Bradley Manning did with his information and the videos is showing people war is not victimless. I think people are starting to think that it is. And here, when Bush fought the war, he put all the budgets, he hit all the budgets. He did nothing but emergency funding.
Right.
He would show up to Congress and go, I need $100 million today. And because it was a Republican Congress, they would just give it to him. And everyone goes, oh, the wars, it doesn't really cost, it's not that bad, right? And then Obama put them on the budgets and they go, well, that ding-dang socialist, he's spending so much money. Well, no,
Yeah.
he put your wars on the budget
On the
where they should have always been because they were never a surprise.
The other disconnect we have with war now is really a lot of war is fought from a distance.
Yeah, that's
now.
true.
Well,
Instead of man to man like World War I,
Right.
World War II that my father-in-law fought in.
Right.
At the Battle of the Bulge. That was, mano a mano, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We aren't doing that anymore.
Well, that's only it's mostly in our case.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other wars that are going on in the world. Don't
Right.
forget. And-
Okay. I'm talking about what we're involved.
Right.
The Espionage Act is what has been unleashed against Bradley Manning.
Right.
And the Espionage Act has been unleashed 6 times under this administration. And that's more than the total number of times it's been deployed under all previous presidents since it was enacted in
The
1970.
Obama administration is going after whistleblowers with fervor right now, and I'm not sure if that's an
It's
Obama
not
thing.
the
If that's a consensus, we
His
need.
message was whistleblowers are good.
Yeah, and so I don't understand where this is coming from.
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing. I'm a little bit torn on this, so I probably need to play a little bit devil's advocate on.
Go ahead.
On this. He is in violation of serious. He caused serious security breach.
Yes.
And he is conduct unbecoming on
Osama bin Laden looked at the stuff that he released. We know that.
Yeah, but he did use his job to leak information to a third party. Secured information, classified information. That's a big problem. And I'm sure I don't know. My guess is he personally didn't go through all 700,000 pieces of information.
No.
Who would have that kind of time, right?
No, nobody would.
So he just basically a bucket full of information. He just pushed it to WikiLeaks and I believe Assange, right?
Yes.
So that can be a serious problem.
Mm-hmm.
And now, without talking about the other stuff, and yes, whistleblower, I on that I'm on his side. But in terms of just by the book. No, there's no way to just say, well, since this guy ultimately will cause, will do good by leaking information. We should just let him go. By the book, we can't just do that. So what happened? If we do that, then it will set kind of a dangerous precedent. What happened afterwards?
They are going to call, apparently, the prosecution is going to call a John Doe who is one of the Navy SEALs involved in killing Osama bin Laden.
Right.
Have you heard how many witnesses they actually have?
141.
104. I read that and I go, holy hell.
I know.
That's going to take a while.
Yeah.
But on pay, now we can
okay.
It's a separate. This is how they treated him. Solitary, the most disgusting form of solitary confinement. That's up for debate. But
isn't that a war crime?
because it's internal, I'm not sure. But he did leak classified information.
Okay.
In other words, we can almost call him a traitor because he leaked classified information.
You can. On paper, it looks very bad.
Very bad.
And he has, of course, put a crack in the military-industrial complex. But it's not that big of a crack because Bradley Manning is now very much a political figure who is largely embraced by the left. But on the right, by and large, because those folks are pretty much just believe what they're told to believe. He's not a hero over there. And he's not a hero over there because, of course, there are quite a few shills for the military-industrial complex.
Well, okay,
of course, the upper brass of the military doesn't like what he did.
There are a couple other things, too.
It is legal, just real quick. It is like what he did. Just look at books, just look at facts. What he did was wrong, but you'll never find me calling him a criminal.
Especially since his motivation, his stated motivation for doing this was that Americans had a right to know the true cost of war.
We do, because we don't. We don't see the pictures coming home. We don't see the bodies. We don't see the flat draped coffins.
But
for God's sakes, it's only under Obama that we're starting to see the bodies come home.
That's the argument. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Melvin.
These wars are fought by the military employees and their families, and slightly beyond that, and the people that look deep enough in it, and that's it. And that's probably about 2% of the nation. And everyone else just goes along with their daily lives. I never slept very well shortly after we went to war. I remember when Bush announced, we're going to go to war with Iraq. I go, you know what? There's no way. Here we are a decade later. Well, it's finally ending.
Okay. Just this situation.
Go ahead.
There are a couple of things. Well, number one, why would one person have access to this much information?
This is
not just an IT security breach. This is a physical security breach too.
Right.
Well, he's an intelligence analyst, so he's getting all these reports coming across his desk.
Right.
But he's analyzing them, and that's how he has.
But it takes a little bit of time, at least, and resources to transfer 700,000 pieces of information, right? So why wasn't that caught? Number one. Number two.
That speaks to somebody dropping the ball.
There was like this, how much information go out, how much, when we're Skyping right now, right? Somewhere there's a meter that says, there's like how many packets of information is going where,
Right.
Why isn't somebody counting that? Because there has to be a way that is from a secure server going out to somewhere. Why isn't that traffic monitored monitored in a more secured and more efficient fashion? Okay, number one, that's the IT part of it. Number two, from what I have read, Bradley Manning actually has some kind of a problem, and he's actually talking to a counselor.
I would think so by this point.
No. Well, back then, when this thing is happening, he was actually talking to a counselor. Why wasn't there a flag or something?
I'd not heard that. Yeah.
Right. So that. But this is a heartbreaking thing because ultimately I understand what you guys are talking about, but he did leak classified information, and that's a big problem. That's a big problem. Well, let's go back to interesting too. Let's go back to the war. Why are we why are wars so desensitized? Even though we have all kinds of technology to show us what exactly happened in wars.
From a personal standpoint, I like to think that I actually am desensitized. If you look at the numbers on children that been brought up during the television age, and of course television age probably spans about 50 years now, they say, well, by the time they're 18, they've seen 30,000 murders on TV and it's not a big deal. But quite honestly, when I saw any of the pictures from the war coming back, the pictures to start coming back from Iraq, that bothered me just as much as anything.
Yeah, sometimes it's really weird because we got all kinds of technology that can show us. I almost remember they were showing us the war live. Remember this is like after the first Gulf War, but remember Shock and Awe. They actually have a camera there showing us like what the heck happened.
Right
there. So it's really weird this dichotomy that is going on. As in, we have all kinds of technology available, but at the same time, they can pick and choose what we can see even easier. And it's then it's easier to desensitize us because this is kind of funny thing to say, but back in the first Gulf War, I remember that all kinds of we all somehow we're rooting for the Peter Arnett and those three guys to get out of Baghdad alive.
Yes.
You remember? Do you guys remember that?
Vaguely.
It became Peter Arnett and who is the other two guys?
Oh
John
my God.
Holliman.
That's what I remember is the embedded journalists.
Right.
And watching the guys right along on the top of the tank and just thinking.
Oh, that was the Second World War. The Second World War. Whoops. That was the Second Gulf War.
Yeah.
If I remember back in the first Gulf War.
Okay, you're talking about Bush 1.
Yeah,
okay.
there's back in the first Gulf War. I remember there was a Saturday Night Live skit with Wayne's World.
Yes.
They're holed up in their basement in Aurora, and they're watching like all three. They have three TVs and they're watching coverages from CNN. And ABC and NBC, and they keep saying that we skipped CBS coverage because it sucked,
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, what I got from that, what I got from that skit is, war somehow became a sports event.
Yes, it did.
At
war was
how
banner.
Right? How they do it, and that's even before Fox News.
Yeah.
So with the war, it was very much the way we see it. So the government says, well, what you journalists report, you better clear it with us first, and what pictures you're going to put, you better say something to us, and we don't want cameras here, and there, and we don't want journalists there, and there. However, the other thing that's changed about the nature of war is, of course, the enemy, because the Iraq War brought something that we've never had in any other war: live decapitations.
Oh.
Catching journalists, catching soldiers, and threatening and doing it on camera and putting it up on the web. That's something we never. So they can say as much as they want. They can say, "Hey, you better clear with us." But hey, all's fair, as they say. And the terrorists or the enemy, as it were, can do whatever they want. So it gets around to some of us. Of course, I never watched any of the decapitation videos, but Sean Hannity did the most brilliant thing. I can't remember the name of the young man. He was probably only 18 or 19 years old. But Hannity decided to play the 30-minute video, or 30-minute audio on his radio show of one guy, or 30-second audio of one guy getting his head cut off. Like you heard him scream.
Oh, my God.
He played it on his show, and he caught hate mail for a week for it. And I remember, because I used to listen to all 3 hours of his show, and he caught hate mail for a full week for it. And he goes, "Hey, I just want you people to know the kind of people that we're dealing with, so you'll stop calling me and telling me why we don't need to be at war." That kind of thing is happening because we have wars, not because they're so evil. They're not getting
that's
any
like
better.
That axis of evil thing again.
And you actually heard the guy screaming until finally his windpipe was cut. It was the most awful audio, and I can't even believe I sat through it. And I go, you know what? I have zero desire to see that video. I can't even believe he played the audio on his show.
Don't you remember the killing of Saddam Hussein?
Yeah.
Was
hung live on television.
Oh God.
Yes.
And how many videos did we have to see of women being killed by Al Qaeda?
Right.
Okay?
Those are
women on their
plethora.
knees and shooting them in the back of the head. I mean,
Shoot
come
in the
on.
back of the head.
Yeah, I get it that they do
Stonings,
that.
right?
Yes.
But
it's not going to change because we go over there and bomb the hell out of them.
Oh.
Right.
Those are cultural.
In fact, part of what's going on there, and you can make the case for 9/11 happening because of what we did ahead of that.
Absolutely.
Which got Patty Murray in trouble. Or was it Maria Cantwell? One of the two.
Yeah.
Got in trouble because she said that in front of a high school class.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
It's Patty Murray.
It's Patty Murray. Pretty sure it is.
So, yeah, well, circle back to this Bradley Manning thing. So, I know ultimately, and I'm hoping and I'm sure, ultimately good will come out of this. As in,
I'm hoping so too. He's got a lot of support.
But he's no. The fact that he's leaked this information, bring everything into light.
Well, right. That's what I mean.
It's going to be good. 150 years later, when historians, if we don't get hit by an asteroid or meteor,
he's very
back to that, right?
He's very much a part of history now. Yeah.
But
and Julian Assange,
right?
Julian Assange is in hiding.
But you know what? He will be sacrificed.
Yeah.
He will be sacrificed because of this. Now,
this
is a wild card, but I'm hoping that this is what's going to happen. It's just one of these things that I'll say it and whatever. Remember West Wing at the end of the 7th season? What happened?
Oh no, I'm not that far yet.
Okay, so spoiler alert! Ding ding ding! Spoiler alert!
Take my
right?
headphones
Cover
off.
your ears.
Okay, so
Headphones are off.
Melvin's
Kevin.
actually Melvin's headphones actually off. Serious.
Okay, so
this is spoiler. Okay, everybody. So Toby Ziegler leaked the fact they were. No, you're not supposed to listen to this.
Well, you know what? I'm going to listen to the show afterwards anyway, so I'm still getting here.
Okay, so there was a situation up in the International Space Station.
Yeah.
So the civilian space shuttle is not available. So somehow Toby leaked it to the New York Times, the Greg Brock, New York Times fake guy, that there was a military shuttle. Well, that's a national secret. That's a classified piece of national secret, right? So he was under indictment. And then at the end, President Bartlett, the last thing he did in office, he signed his pardon.
Cool.
So this is what I hope will happen.
You're hoping President Obama.
Right. The last thing he does
on the way out the door.
On the way out the door when before President Hillary Clinton and Vice President Elizabeth Warren take office.
Yes, thank you, Kevin.
Right? I hope that's going to happen. So, but he will be sacrificed. He will. I hope he will only spend the next 3 years in jail, and then he'll be free. But you know what? Just like so many things.
Can we hope that the actual war criminals will actually be put on trial?
Right. But here's the thing, though. I mean, the stuff he leaked is not just American information. It's like there's information circling around all over the place. So,
right.
Yeah. So this is a tough situation. He, in a way, he should be punished because he did
break the law,
do something quote wrong unquote. So,
but has he been punished enough?
Right. But there's always these examples in history that some people do something wrong on paper. In the rule book, it says wrong. But if we pull the camera back, overall, it's actually a positive happening for all humanity. So, gosh, I can't. It get me all depressed.
Yeah, you got very deep there.
Yeah.
Let me.
So anyway, let's move to So best of everything to Bradley Manning. I hope.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I hope I'm right. I hope my crystal ball is working tonight. Is going on. All the RAM is working on the crystal ball. So anyway, okay.
Ahead of our next subject, I want to ask the both of you: do either of you know what confirmation bias is?
Go ahead.
The sociological condition where we, as human beings, seek out information that confirms what we already believe or think, and ignore or don't seek out information that disputes those opinions.
Oh, come on. That doesn't apply to anybody.
Oh, my goodness. Let's move in to the conservative media.
Yeah. Okay, okay. True.
Catch Hannity with
True.
Ellison.
Right,
I'm on a roll now.
Let me tell you this. I agree with what you said because sometimes I really don't want to think about the shot that heard around the world. What's happened because, the Giants stole signs.
Oh.
So anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Well, he still have to hit it out. It doesn't matter.
Right.
He still have to hit it out, right? Like
That's right.
I know Bobby Thompson. Everybody is at 1951. So okay. Go ahead, Melvin. I'm sorry.
So anyway, and I'd heard about it quite a bit before I actually got around to watching the actual video. Now, the one small thing that disappointed me about the video was
what video?
Ellison
and Hannity.
Ellison was invited to speak
to go on to Hannity's
show.
But leading up to Ellison coming on, Hannity told all the lies he usually tells, and he plays the dark music. And then, of course, he brought Ellison on, and by the time he got Ellison on, Ellison was just steamed, and he's like, "You are the worst excuse for a journalist I have ever encountered in my life." And then Hannity goes, "I'm sorry, I can't hear you." He goes, "Oh no, you heard me, okay? But you are a yellow journalist, sir." Now, what disappointed me about it was for like 6 minutes, Ellison just went off, which was
it was
good.
Wonderful.
It was wonderful, but I wish he would have let Hannity get in like a question or two, because it's so much easier to make Hannity look like an ass.
Wait a minute.
If you let Hannity speak.
Wait a minute.
Ellison just went off for 6 minutes, and Fox News just lit him, and then finally Fox News gets in the Hannity's ear and goes, all right, get rid of the Muslim.
Get rid of the guy. Get rid of him.
Okay. So what were they talking about again?
Okay, they were talking
about the sequester.
Yeah, about the sequester. Man, I lost the message they were talking about completely.
I've been listening to Hannity's show. I listen to Hannity's show on a somewhat regular basis, I'm embarrassed to say. But Hannity's been talking about the sequester all the time, saying it's all Obama's fault. This is all he's doing. This was his plan. This is all he wanted. And he's running around right now with his hair on fire, screaming that the sky's falling down. The sky's not falling down. Everything is great. Sequester happened last Friday, and look how great everything still is, which pains him to say, because he really wants to say everything sucks and it's Obama's fault. But he has to go, look, sequester happened and everything's great. So he brought on Ellison to try to trash Ellison, put in all these fake facts and all these terrible things about Obama, and then brought on Ellison to ask him those questions. And by the time Ellison's microphone was turned on, Ellison had just had it. Oh, I don't like you, Sean Hannity.
Why would he even go on? Why would he even go on, man?
Well, he went on because, I mean, you go on knowing that Hannity's going to shut you down, but you hope you can get a few zingers in there. And this guy was primed and ready. You're immoral. I'm immoral, Hannity said. I didn't do anything that's immoral. You say things that aren't true. Right. And if you watch the video of it, it's hilarious. At one point, he accuses Hannity of being a Republican, and Hannity keeps saying, no, I'm a registered conservative. I'm a registered conservative.
What's the difference?
What in the heck is that?
There's no such party, is it?
No, there isn't.
No,
I'm a registered
really.
conservative.
There was a time, when I used to watch Hannity back in the day.
I'm a registered Star Trek fan.
Yeah, no kidding.
There was a time where Hannity would never, ever do these one-on-ones. Hannity would say, let's have a debate. And then he'd bring on a Republican and he'd bring on a Democrat. And then it would be Hannity and the Republican versus the Democrat. And they would both shut him down. It's interesting to me that he's moved over to the one-on-one. And he thinks he's confident enough to take on people on his own. But now,
I think it's because he had Alan Combs with him on for so long. And Alan Combs would never say a thing.
Yeah. What has happened afterwards is Hannity has been on a tear for the last number of days, just going after Ellison, saying that he's palling around with terrorists, saying he's a Black Power guy, and playing all these videos, all these old Black Panther videos and everything of the Black Panthers, which are really marginalized, by the way, and they should be, saying all these really terrible things, and he goes, yep, Ellison believes all those things.
Well.
That he's been palling around with radicals like Louis Farrakhan, because Keith Ellison, unfortunately, is the sole Muslim member of Congress. So Hannity's out to get him. I mean, it's just.
There's a vastly larger picture here, and this is what I want to dovetail this with Menendez. Now, obviously, the story of Menendez is he was accused of buying a couple of prostitutes down in the Dominican Republic. A couple of women came forward and they said, yes, we he paid us for sex. And then the ladies decided to, of course, now the videos of them were blacked out and their names weren't given and there was really no way to verify it. And then the ladies retracted their stories and they go, no, somebody paid us to say that. But here's the thing. The conservatives heard the Menendez thing and that's where they stopped listening. Once the ladies came out and they retracted their stories, they go, no, somebody's paying them, a Democrat is paying them to retract their stories.
Oh, what?
And the Daily Caller actually put this story to the Washington Post, which was really a stupid move because the Washington Post is going to follow this thing to the ground. We'll get to a member of the Washington Post here eventually. But they're going to follow this thing to the ground. And what they discovered was these women, the whole thing was a setup and it was false. And Washington Post has come back to Daily Caller now going, what are you doing? You're selling us all this false information, giving us all this false information. None of this is actually true. And so Daily Caller, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but Daily Caller, is it dailycaller.com?
Yes.
I kind of think it is. Dailycaller.com. They are one of the worst yellow journalism conservative rags out there. I mean, half of what they say, you just have to throw out the window. It's worse than Fox, if you can believe that. They are responsible this week for calling Ashley Judd a slut.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because she has appeared on screen naked.
Naked.
And she's running against.
She's an
Who is she running against?
She's an actress.
Yeah. Yeah, she's an actress.
Who might she be running against?
She's running against Mr. Turtle, Mr. Kentucky.
Mr. Mitch McConnell. Yeah. And they are going crazy trying to discredit this woman.
They are.
It reminds me so much of Matt Shea and Amy Viviano.
You know, I can't
believe it.
By the way, Mitch McConnell, I mean, there is a, with Progressive Kentucky, I don't even know what this, what this organization is all about. They were attacking Mitch McConnell's wife, and she's Taiwanese.
Oh, yeah.
So, and they're screaming racism now. I'm just having such it's so ironic that, when it happened to them, it's racism.
Yes.
What happened to us, it's like, oh, you're oversensitive.
Yeah.
It's on our side, and it's just being a minority person. Sometimes if I sit back, I can't believe what I'm hearing. What I'm very curious about now. Of course, it was Matthew Boyle who interviewed the two Dominican Republican women who was working for the Daily Caller and who is now actually working for Breitbart. And if you remember all the the selectively edited videos that Breitbart did before he died. Here's the larger point. I would be very curious, and I've worked in media jobs before, and I'd be very curious to work inside. Now, I worked inside of a conservative newsroom, but I didn't work inside of a Fox type news conservative room. And I did work inside of a conservative newsroom there in town, and I did used to see when they were setting up the shows beforehand what they did want to cover, what they didn't want to cover. Whenever they would put, whenever they wanted to, take input from the outside, the only responses that they liked putting on screen were the conservative ones. I'd be curious to work inside of a deeply conservative newsroom. I hate to call them that. I like a better word, though, like Breitbart or like Fox News, and just listen to what it sounds like when they sit around and just make things up, because that's all we've really seen, especially under Obama. Now it's always been pretty bad, especially since Fox came into the news-ish business in 1996. But it's got newsatainment.
Could we put that in scare quotes?
Infotainment. I have put right there. And it's gotten worse since Obama's become president, because they really, really have made it up to no end. Now, the Dow hit the highest it has ever. Now, that's not necessarily a celebration for the rest of us, because we're not capitalists. We don't make our money on capital alone. That's what makes a capitalist. But what it says that Obama is the worst socialist ever.
Yes.
Yet, they still have no problem attaching the name socialist to him.
Man. The Dow just broke some kind of a record.
It broke it all time.
It's just such a socialist thing to do.
And that was on Maddow today. Yeah. That was all over Maddow today. What a terrible socialist this guy is.
It's crazy. I mean, just reality.
I didn't get to see it today.
You know what? Reality is the Obama administration. Here's a card carrying. There wasn't really a card, but it's just bigger figure. Of course, everybody. I'm a registered liberal, so it's a card carrying liberal saying this. Obama administration still, they are not very good at regulating the finance industry, and by calling it an industry, I'm like, I have to catch myself that. And by the way, let's invent another word, because it's not an industry. An industry actually produce something.
And they actually employ a lot of people.
Financial scam.
Right, but no, it's like, it has to be another word. But anyway, that's another discussion.
Financial
complex, like the military complex.
Right, and they're not very successful in terms of gun control yet. We're back to that.
Financial industrial complex.
Right,
I like it.
Right, it's like the other side, they're not living in reality.
No, they're not.
Because they keep saying like Obama is a socialist, and yet Dow and everything just go
he's
up
a centrist Democrat
through the roof, right?
That.
And then he's like Obama is going to come in and take our guns. Which he hasn't really, his administration, let's not say he, because he personally isn't really, his administration,
after people's guns.
Right, his administration hasn't really done a damn thing in controlling things. Well, it's just trying to. Right. So it's like the other side, they're not even like living in any kind of freaking reality.
Nope.
They just, say whatever. So people who just, sit in some car dealership somewhere would just look at Fox News and says, "Oh yeah, that's why President Obama horrible, and then he's black." Have everybody noticed?
What must that be like? Because I hear lots of news all the time that I don't particularly care for, that I don't want to believe because it makes me uncomfortable as a left-leaning individual. But I take my damn medicine and I go, okay, I don't like it, but okay, that's the way it is. That's the way the ball bounces, and I have no choice but to believe it. What it must be like to hear something and go, that's not what I want to believe. Not only that, I'm going to make something up and then I'm going to report it as news.
No, I think
and then people will hear that, and if you it's Goebbels, okay?
What's the old say about a lie?
It is. It's Goebbels from the Nazi regime.
Right.
You repeat a lie enough times, people will believe it. Right. And we're seeing it. Okay, for example, coming back to this conservative media stuff, we were talking about Goldfarb last week.
Yes.
The guy who began the Free Beacon, okay?
Yes.
And the idea of Rachel Maddow having
Free Bacon, what? No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Free Beacon. Okay. Free Bacon. Free Beacon.
Doesn't do anything for me. I'm a vegetarian. So.
Okay. Free Beacon.
I'm sorry. I'm being silly. Go ahead.
No,
Free
that's
Beacon.
fine.
One of the worst conservative rags to start up in a long time. And one of the first things he went after, he's gone after anything McCain because McCain is his hero. He worked for McCain and Palin.
Right.
Okay. So this Goldfarb guy has the Free Beacon. And what does he come out with? But McCain is in a video with one of the mothers of a victim from the Aurora, Colorado shootings.
Right.
Remember that? We touched on this a little bit last week.
The straight talk one?
Yes.
Right.
And she asks him some pretty pointed questions, and he tries to dodge them, and he gets kind of cranky, as Grumpy usually does.
Yeah.
And
get off my lawn.
Yeah, and it gets on Rachel Maddow show, the video of it, and the right wing starts claiming that the thing's been edited, and it's because the Free Beacon put out a really edited one showing McCain in a really good light. And so Mediaite actually came out with the actual video showing and demonstrating that the original video was indeed edited, but by the TV station that filmed it before they released it to people like Rachel Maddow. Okay? Same kind of thing comes forward this week, and they're claiming on Daily Caller and several other places that Rachel Maddow has gone onto Twitter and created false Twitter accounts in order to try and boost her ratings. Completely false.
Really.
But all these people are screaming about this stuff.
I have trouble believing, Rachel would do something like that.
What?
No,
She wouldn't.
Why would she spend time doing that?
she already has a PhD, so.
Yes.
Yeah. There was a time, and I may or may not have discussed this with you guys before. I know I've mentioned it a few times on the Bring Back page. There was a time where, and I remember learning this in broadcasting school, where there was a firewall between the news and the sales department, where news was news. They reported it no matter what it was, and newsmen could never be ever seen talking with the sales department because it could influence news.
That's when we called it the Fourth Estate still.
That's right. And when that firewall between the news and the sales department came down, that's why we have what we have now. Now, the real news is still out there, but it's not as simple as turning on your nightly news and just watching Brokaw or all the rest and going and being able to take that to the bank. For me personally, I don't have one news source. I can't, because if I do, even if it is what they might call a left-leaning source, I might walk away with the wrong information. So I follow as many sources as I can. Truth lies somewhere in the middle-ish. And that's frustrating at times because it takes an awful lot of time to find out what the real story is. Because a lot of people tend to hold quite a few things back. It would be nice to see our news go back to now. A lot of years they suffered losses, but they were subsidized, and that's fine because everybody got good news. That was important to media, and that was important to the founders, and that's kind of what needs to happen again. News needs to become more important, and the firewall between the sales department and the news department needs to go back up.
Right. Right away I can think of two movies. Not that movie. Movie is
throw
all,
them out
all
there,
true.
son.
Well, the Insider with Al Pacino,
Yeah.
and Russell Crowe, and what about the other one with George Clooney? Remember that? The other one with George Clooney.
Yeah.
Which one?
So talk about the 50s.
Yes. Okay, that's about McCarthy.
McCarthy. Yeah.
Oh,
That's about Edward R. Murrow and his battle with McCarthy.
No, we just
that one needs to be watched by quite a few people.
I heard an interview with today. Oh my God, Hannity had Cruz on his show today.
Tom Cruise.
No,
Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Penelope Cruz. Right?
Giving him,
can we understand what she's
that
saying?
other Cruz.
just giving Ted Cruz a big, sloppy, wet kiss, just like a slobbering dog, like all over it. Oh, you're one of my four favorites.
They should just come to state of Washington and get married.
So gross. And Ted Cruz goes, and Ted Cruz tried to sound somewhat reasonable. He goes, well, I've only been there 13 weeks, but and they already don't like me. You know what that means, Sean? That means I'm doing things right.
The George Clooney,
Say.
right? I can't believe I can't. It's not like right in my RAM.
Good night.
It's good night and good luck.
Good night and good luck.
Fabulous movies.
And then they go, well, I hear they're trying to pin this whole McCarthyism thing on you, and the reason they're trying to pin that on you is because 4 years ago,
acting like McCarthy.
Wait, did we do a DM? Did we DM Ted Cruz?
he said,
I think we need to do a whole show of it, Gino.
And Henry goes, well, the only reason they're doing that, comparing you with McCarthy, is because you told the McCarthy joke 4 years ago. Isn't that right, Mr. Cruz? And he goes, yep, that's exactly what it is. Really? Because it's not like they sound alike and they almost look identical?
Oh, my gosh.
Have you seen the pictures of them side by side?
Yes.
It actually looks like Mr. McCarthy was born again.
Okay.
All right, let's finish up the meeting.
All right. So
Okay, well, we need to get to Bob Woodward.
Right. Are we going to Bob Woodward?
I guess we don't. We're gonna bring up Bob Woodward.
It's like DM. We should do Bob Woodward. So remember I was talking about unhappy liberals and unhappy progressives.
Yes.
And the next story is going to be it's going to play right into that hand. We're gonna talk about the drone thing.
Yeah.
There's this really crazy thing come out this week. Eric Holder. Finally, they release a lot of these legal memos, and they were determined that it is what's the exact wording? It is very unlikely or something.
Right.
They can take out Americans, American citizens, American soil.
The Obama administration believes it could technically use military force to kill an American on U.S. soil in extraordinary circumstances, but has no intention of doing so. That's what Eric Holder said when he was taking questions following a speech at the University of Massachusetts, which opened a gigantic can of worms because obviously for the last 4 or 5 years, teabaggers have been screaming at the top of their lungs about how the government's coming to kill them. Government's coming to take away their guns. But really all they've had up until that point was an email that they got from somebody or something that they heard on Fox News or something that they saw written on a bubblegum wrapper that they picked up off the ground. Okay. Now they actually have Eric Holder saying it, and now they're really losing their...
Okay, first of all, this is crazy, insane. Like, okay, right now is Wednesday night, March 6th, right? I just Google Eric Holder.
Yes.
Right? And 3 things popped out. That one, the drone thing that we are talking about, can U.S. citizens be killed in U.S. soil? That's one story, one big story. The next one, same time, at the same time, Eric Holder admits some banks are too big to be persecuted. So 2 huge story attached to Eric Holder pretty much on the same day. How busy is this guy? How busy is this guy?
Too big to prosecute.
Prosecute. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk about this drone thing. We've been in this before, but since now it's like they always. Have you heard this crazy thing about Air Italia flight yesterday? The pilot thought he saw a drone around JFK Airport.
That.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to look that one up.
So right now, nobody know what's going on there. Whether it is really an Air Force drone or is that just some kid having testing out a model kit.
Our drone strikes are being conducted by the CIA right now.
Right.
Now, John Brennan, who's potentially going to be the incoming new CIA director.
When they're filibustering it.
Well, hold on. He cleared one hurdle last week, and of course he's got another one to clear this week, but he's currently being filibustered on the floor by Rand Paul. Right. And the thing about John Brennan is John Brennan has actually stated on the record before that he doesn't like the fact that the CIA is conducting drone strikes. And so there's, of course, speculation that if he comes in, that the CIA is drone strikes are going to go away from the CIA and they'll go back to becoming only military operations once again. And because Obama handpicked John Brennan, there's a little speculation that Obama has felt the heat from his drone program and is finally willing to hand that back over to the military. Now, Rand Paul is filibustering John Brennan, and of course, there's quite a few people that agree with that, and I do to a degree. But if Brennan does come in and he stops the CIA from doing drone strikes and they go over to the military, they won't be this super secret thing that's happening from inside the White House anymore. They'll go back to just being military operations, which I like. But I understand the reason that he is filibustering him right now is to draw attention to the drone strikes, because the case that Rand Paul is making on the floor is, what about due process? I don't want to say I agree with Rand Paul.
I don't either, but
what about due process? I still don't like Rand Paul.
I will speak until I can no longer speak. I will speak as long as it takes until the alarm is sounded from coast to coast that our Constitution is important, that your rights to trial by jury are precious, that no American should be killed by a drone on American soil without first being charged with a crime, without first being found to be guilty by a court. That statement is the kind of thing that makes my jaw drop. It's the kind of thing that makes me go,
yeah,
well, what's really going on here? When we talked about Lincoln several weeks ago, the thing that Lincoln did that got him in trouble with Congress was he suspended habeas corpus. And you could make a case for suspension of habeas corpus based on what they are allowed to do with the drones.
Do you guys know what a posse comitatus is?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, now, wasn't posse comitatus suspended by George Bush?
Oh, I would have looked that up. That's a good question.
I believe it was suspended by him, which, by the way, I remember hearing about it back then and going, okay, I have no idea why he suspended posse comitatus, because I know what that means. That means once you suspend that, you can begin using the United States military against Americans. And then of course Bush never did that. And I said, well, then why in the hell did he do that? Well, the power perhaps that Obama has now to strike out against Americans is because posse comitatus was repealed, which was a conservative idea. And of course, Obama's not necessarily utilizing it now, but the fact that somebody from his administration that he chose, by the way, is even making mention that we can strike out against Americans is a little unnerving to me.
It was actually the intent of it, posse comitatus, was to limit the powers of federal government in using federal military personnel to enforce state laws.
Right.
So it does not apply to the National Guard.
There are a couple of things. So for us, I'm sure, because of this, this is bad. However you look at it.
Right.
This is bad.
Right.
And it's going to come down as one of the really dark spot in the Obama presidency. No question about it. I guess that the differences between, progressives, liberals, the decision, I guess, is the conservatives, I'm sure they would jettison the whole administration because of this.
Oh, yeah.
Are we willing to, do the same thing because of this? I think most of us have, I'm not sure better sense is the word, but I am sure most of us, the thinking is more balanced.
Right.
This is just one thing amongst all the good and bad that the Obama administration is doing. But either way, this is going to be bad. This is going to set a dangerous precedent. Yeah. Even though they keep saying, the wordings are, this thing is possible, but likely we're not going to do it.
The suspension of posse comitatus is what allowed President Eisenhower to send federal troops into Little Rock, Arkansas during the 1958 school desegregation crisis.
Right. So it's not.
So it was already out of place.
Yeah. So it's a very conditional thing, I believe.
Yeah.
So, interesting.
It's really interesting when it's been called in.
But just going back to this drone, whether it can kill American citizens within American soil thing, this is bad. This is bad. Okay. But let me ask you this. Let me play the devil's advocate on this, and this is dangerous as hell. But let me ask you this. If we have this technology, if we have the intelligence to back it up, would we support taking out Tim McVeigh before Oklahoma City happened?
Well,
would we do that?
This
is just a mental exercise.
Hang on, Kevin. What did we know about Timothy McVeigh before?
Well, but he was involved in militia. He was military trained. He's spying. Well, but let's not go into that kind of.
That's not against the law.
Let me tell you this. No, let me tell you this. We just broke up a terror plot here in Portland, Oregon, and what happened is they caught wind of a guy that wanted to blow up. I believe it was the town center, and so. CIA came in and they did this whole sting operation and they had these patsies go in, these guys with these fake bombs, and they go, hey, we heard you might want to blow up the town center. And the guy goes, yeah, I kind of want to do that. And then they go, okay. So they supplied him with all the materials, and then he set it up in the town center. And when he went to try to detonate him, the government moved in and arrested him and took him away. Now, they knew what that guy wanted to do. They knew that he had plans. They found all kinds of bomb-making stuff on his computer and everything. But rather than sending a drone after him, they moved in, got to know him, found out his intentions, and took him out that way. That would have been a much better way to take out McVeigh. If we have the intelligence that McVeigh is going to do what he's going to do, it's better to move in with the law enforcement arm and take him out that way rather than go, I think he's going to kill somebody. Let's send a drone over to his house to blow up the toilet or whatever the hell he lives in, the outhouse he lives in.
But this is just I guess a mental exercise.
Yeah, of course.
But
right.
I'm
saying there's better ways than drones.
Right. Okay. Then we have to go into the discussion why if somebody is intend to do harm to us.
Yes.
What does it matter? Whether or not it is an American citizen or is it a foreign citizen, foreign nationals, why does it matter? Why are American citizens more special in this case if we are blowing people away?
So what you're saying,
if we're blowing people, quote, people who would do harm to us,
I
unquote.
disagree with the drone strikes by and large because there's no – they say, well, it's a very targeted killing. Not really, because we kill lots and lots of people that we don't intend to.
Let me preface this by saying I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I
hate this whole thing.
I know you are.
I hate this. So this thing stinks.
Hey,
Kevin, are you saying,
play that advocate, buddy?
Are you saying then that it's better than declaring a war to use the technology we have if we know somebody's a threat to the United States, no matter if they're a citizen or not?
I'm not quite sure where you're getting at with that, but are you saying that?
Okay, so I'm saying, usually, we target somebody like Osama bin Laden, let's say, okay? Right. He attacked us. We're going to go after him. Would it be better to take him out with a drone?
Yeah.
Okay. And so can we apply that in all other instances or a lot of other instances, or you know what I'm saying? Right. Do we generalize from that one specific kind of thing where we have this person and we know this person has already done something horrible. Right. I mean, the idea that somebody could do something horrible to me is one of those iffy things.
Well, right now this whole thing is based on, let's go to Pakistan and take those couple of people out because we know for sure they're planning some, almost cuss there. Planning some stuff against us, right?
Yes.
Right.
What if we know for sure somebody who is, whether or not U.S. citizen, in, say, somewhere, let's just be fair and let's just pick something, Idaho. It's going to do something harm.
Idaho.
What if we know for sure? Would you think that would turn the public in supporting just taking that out? Where does that lead to? So I guess what I'm saying, what I'm saying at the end is, this, however it is, need to stop. This whole drone crap just need to stop because
I'm very wary of ever buying into the slippery slope argument.
Right.
But I'll buy it this time because I believe if we go from saying so after the first time the World Trade Center was bombed, we went after those guys who made criminals out of them, and then if we knew a plot was coming up on for something else, there are better ways to go after them. But
Right.
if we start saying it's okay for us to kill Americans or really anybody, I don't care who it
Right.
is, without any sort of due process or anything.
That's what
I absolutely no.
yeah, that's
I don't
ultimately
agree
what
with that.
that's ultimately what I'm saying, that this just need to stop wherever it is.
Fine point.
Wherever it
Timothy
is.
McVeigh, no matter what a horrible individual Timothy McVeigh was, if he had survived, well, I guess he did survive.
He did
and
survive.
He was put on trial.
We
right?
killed him.
Okay, so he was given due process.
Right. True.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, and I think I don't know why I was thinking he got blown up. I think it's because I'd like to think he did, but
We all
that's one of
Well,
those.
he was executed ultimately.
Yeah, he was
So,
executed, and he wanted to be executed.
Right.
He chose it.
So.
Okay, but at least and I don't buy into the death penalty.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
But-
So he see what I'm saying. This is like as a thinking, I guess, progressives, we wrestle with ourselves mentally with this kind of stuff. Because,
Yes.
well, what if I can? You know what? What if I can? If I were the president, which would never happen. You know why? Because unlike Obama, I really am not born in the U.S.
Oh,
But if I have my hand on the trigger.
Yes.
If I can, when was Oklahoma? 96? A day before Oklahoma City happened. If I have my hand, if I have my hand on the joystick, controlling a drone, would I take him out? I need to think about that.
okay, but you know what I like about this, Kevin
Yeah.
and Melvin? You are conflicted.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you bring up this whole thing, you are conflicted. That's because you have the worldview and ideology that you have. Okay?
Yeah,
and there are people on the other side of the aisle who, hey, you know what? It's eye for an eye, tooth for tooth.
Well, okay. I guess the other side is always like, well, drones. Of course, if like
you step on my property, I'm going to blow you away.
If George W. Bush was the president, hey, drone, let's do it. Obama is the president, no. That's how they think of this thing instead of what we just did. As we pick it apart and kind of like
It's
not
very
even make
black
sense.
and white for them. There's
Right?
no thought.
But
It's
there
very
is no
and
black and white.
Right.
That's the hard part of it.
But
There
this
is no
thing,
black and white.
but this thing need to be further defined. It need to stop because this is potentially going to ruin the Obama presidency.
It could. And
Because you never know. It's not just him. He doesn't have to. Well,
It's due process.
Right, from-
We
This is
cannot
where
undermine
this is where he needs to start hearing from people. And trust me, the White House is hearing from people. Hey, they promised us transparency. Eric Holder came out and said we can kill anybody we damn well please. That's not verbatim.
no. This is not just. This is not.
They're not being transparent.
This is. Let's look ahead. This is not just him. President Obama doesn't even need to come anywhere close to this thing.
Correct.
From now to the end of this presidency.
Yes.
It's all about the next 20, 25, 30 years.
Which
the
is
next,
why he was conflicted when he signed the NDAA.
Right. If down the road, somebody, America went crazy and we have like President Ted Cruz, and then he pulled the trigger on somebody, then people are going to look back and say, see, remember the Obama presidency? That's how this thing got started.
Well,
so
they'll do what they did with the Iraq War. They'll go, remember when a Democrat thought this was a good idea?
Oh,
What's wrong with you?
Right.
They did the same thing with Hillary Clinton. You go, hey, Hillary Clinton voted for it.
Yes, but her information was based on what you
Kucinich voted against it. That's who I like.
Right. Sorry if I just overloaded the mic a lot. I'm sorry. I'm yelling because I'm pissed.
I'm yelling as well.
I'm pissed about this. So.
All right, it's time for something. Less angry, like DMs.
Oh, wait a minute. We have another one, right? We have another thing that we need to talk about. The forcing people to get married thing.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Oh, all yeah, and we get to go places with this one because there's another whole bill out there, too.
All right, well, oh, my God, I've forgotten the name of the bill now. Forgive me, I'm trying to pull it up here. Okay, so Ted Gassman, along with members, I think it's 7 members of the Iowa House, wanted to bring forth a bill making it impossible for people to get divorced. His argument is right now. I know. Now he went on the floor and was talking about his granddaughter, and he said, "There's a 16-year-old in this whole mix now, and what are the possibilities of her being promiscuous?" Talking about if her parents get divorced, what are the possibilities of all the things that 16-year-old girl could do with her hormones raging and everything? Now, here's the thing: he's basing this. He's basing this on his 16-year-old granddaughter, who I'm sure just loves being called a potential slut by her granddad.
Thank you, Grandpa.
And here's the thing: he says, "Let's get rid of divorce because that's obviously what starts to break down the family. That's what makes girls promiscuous. That's when they start thinking it's okay to have sex."
Wait a minute. What about boys?
Well, you know what? They never bring that up. So here's the thing. Forcing people to stay married is only going to make an absolutely miserable house. And I've heard quite a bit of discussion on this over the last week. And I remember hearing, you know what? My parents' divorce, I'm not talking about me now. I heard people say my parents' divorce was very, very hard because my parents got divorced. Once they got divorced, it was a long road back figuring out this, that, and the other. And they said probably the hardest part of the divorce was when it was clear they were no longer in love and no longer wanted to be together, yet they continued to live under the same roof. That was very hard because they didn't like each other, and it's very apparent, and that made things a lot harder on the kids. And so this guy is saying, you know what? They should stay together. They should just work it the hell out. Now, they're always about get the government out of people's lives.
Until it comes to
little pet projects like this, like he says, my granddaughter might be a slut, so I need to write up this legislation. And he did, and mentioned her on the floor. And his 7 other friends were behind him. And his name is Gassman. That's not a joke.
Wow. Yeah.
And, okay, so he's got some friends.
Yes, he does.
Representatives Randy Hultgren.
Yeah.
From Illinois, and Daniel Lipinski from Illinois.
Right.
One of them's a Republican, one of them's a Democrat. Yeah. I'm sorry to say. On Valentine's Day. On Valentine's Day, they want to take $550 million in Affordable Care Act grants over 5 years to programs that provide teenagers with, abstinence-only education.
Jeez.
Abstinence-only education. It's called the Abstinence Education Reallocation Act. And we're going to just go into schools and tell kids just to say no.
Yeah, like that's going to work.
Wait a minute.
Tell me, did this work for the Palin family?
That one there that you're doing.
Personal.
That one's actually different than what I'm doing, because the one you're talking about, the Abstinence Education Relocation Act, they want to take that money out of the Affordable Care Act. That's a whole different bucket of crazy that you're talking about. You've actually dove into one of my DMs for tonight.
I'm sorry. I'll just shut up.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine.
Maybe we should move to your DM
because that guy's name is Randy Hultgren. The other guy I was talking about was Gassman. But yeah, and once again, They don't like the government. And by the way, nobody likes the Affordable Care Act. Oh, I heard Ted Cruz say today that he's going to introduce again into the Senate next week repealing Obamacare for like the 40th time. So they don't like the Affordable Care Act unless this guy can put in $550 million of abstinence-only education, which, by the way, I believe Texas has, and it's not working. What kids have moved.
Has it ever worked? Has it ever worked?
What the kids have moved to in Texas is more anal sex and more fellatio, because they go, hey, no one's getting pregnant and you can't get disease that way, right? Actually, if you had sex education, you would know that
that's the worst thing you could do.
Those are the worst things you can do. That's almost guaranteeing you a trip to the clinic.
Yeah, telling kids not to do it, it's guaranteed them.
Fastest way to get them to do it.
Right. Oh, this must be cool.
You know,
Sorry, Melvin, I didn't mean to step on your.
No, that's fine. That's fine because the two stories go together wonderfully. No, that's fine.
Telling kids to practice is pretty much guaranteed they're not going to practice.
Well, okay, so let me tell you something my daughter shared with me. Okay, we've had what we call sex education classes.
Yeah.
You know, for years that weren't abstinence only. In spots around the country. And what my daughter shared with me this year when I was discussing teenage pregnancy with my students one time because of writing projects and so forth.
Right.
Okay, we give kids condoms, but do we teach them how to use condoms?
Don't they pass around like a cucumber or something?
Banana. Maybe cucumber.
I don't think they do.
When I was in high school, they did that.
Yeah,
well,
they did that first too.
That's good because there are things about a condom like it has an expiration date.
Yeah.
It's supposed to have a pillow effect. Right. All these different things. So don't carry it in your wallet.
Yeah, that's the dumbest thing ever.
I know. And we don't teach them anything about it. So yeah. Anyway,
but you have to.
I mean, can of worms.
Yeah. You know what? Listen. I mean, this is even almost stupid to say. The only way to educate is to actually talk about the thing.
Oh yeah.
This is even like stupid. Just telling them you don't have to know what that is, but don't do it. You can't like totally guarantee they're gonna like, hey, let's play around Friday night.
Figure that one out.
I remember my mind being blown in 6th grade when we did sex education, but hey, I'll tell you
man,
what,
that is kind of late. No,
when puberty hit, I knew exactly what was going on. I knew exactly what not to do, that kept me a good boy.
See, listen. Here's like, wow, how do we get to sex education? Oh, okay. Here's the thing. This is what I always think. I love this show. We just go to another thing. Here's what I always think. Yes, there's the legal part of it. You know, people under 18, that. But you know, the way to do sex education is, one, you need to talk about what exactly involved. Right? And 2, you need to be totally honest about it, because the sex itself. Okay, we're not going to talk about religion, right? We're not, because you know, we're not talking about premarital sex. You know what? I don't even believe in that. I mean, I think the marriage part is just, you know, it's just a legal step. You know, if you know, but the sex itself is not really the crux of it here. I think what am I saying? The crux of sex education is you have to lay out honestly what would happen if something happened. I see I'm being very vague here, but you know what I'm saying, right? The sex itself, you need to tell them, okay, I know you guys are curious. I know some of you are going to do it. So let me tell you, if you do it, you want to do this and that. Wear a condom, whatever, you know. Read the calendar, you know, be wise about it. Because let me tell you why. The sex is a beautiful thing. Sex is awesome. Let me tell you. Okay?
Yeah.
But the problem with that is if you don't do it wisely, if you don't do it, if you don't treat this wisely, you get pregnant when you are 16 or 17 or 18.
Then your
what would happen?
over.
What would happen to your life? Because you have to take care of And then we have the abortion angle to comes in, and then we need to talk about that too. But if you decided to have the kid, what would do to your life? That's the part of sex education that need to be talked about because
it affects
right.
It's going to affect whether you can get an education or not.
Right.
It's going to affect
education with respect to anything is always better if you're educated on the subject, and it's better if that education comes from somebody you trust, like your parents or your teacher, because if not, they're going to learn it from television and hip-hop music.
But if you stop your sex education at step 1, as in just don't freaking do it.
Don't freaking that's
and then we don't have to talk about the other stuff. That is BS because you're not solving anything.
Nope, you're making it worse.
You have to tell kids.
You actually have to provide your kids with the tools
now
and teach them that they should be actually asking a potential partner
now that's sad. I got to be honest, if the kid is rich, if it's like Paris Hilton have like billions of money dollar waiting for them, go ahead, if you
be dumb.
if you want to,
fine.
But if you are just working class, middle class, having a kid will present a tremendous burden on your own family and yourself. If you don't even know how to support yourself financially, please, before you actually do it, think about all that stuff. Right. And if you desire to go ahead, okay, go ahead, but you need to do this, and that. Sex education, if you ask me, it should be like that. Instead of just saying, God says no. That doesn't do anything.
But you know what? God said yes, because God made it to be a pleasant act.
Right. If God doesn't say yes, why would everybody be looking for it?
We have done a lot of it since God put it.
So anyway, that's my spiel. Yeah, I'm all yelling all night. What's up?
No, that's fine.
But you know what? I always get really frustrated when you got these crazies on, even some on our side, keep saying that. Well, just don't do it.
They're not as numerous on our side, but they're there. You're right.
That's the don't do it thing is that's the dad in that '70s show would say, just don't do it. That doesn't solve a problem. At all. So anyway, are we through with?
You smack you in the back of the head and say,
Are we through with this? We are already at 77 minutes.
We're done. Let's hit those DMs.
Okay, who want to?
Let's go.
Let's go to dishonorable mentions.
Okay.
Dishonorable mentions.
Who wants to go first?
Representative Ed Orcutt.
Oh God.
Washington State. Do we want to talk about this guy?
Yes.
Oh,
go on.
This guy.
Yeah, the empty short. Go ahead.
Okay, so he has introduced a bill in front of the Washington State Legislature suggesting that bicyclists, are responsible for a lot of the CO2 that is being released into the atmosphere because of course, they're heavy breathing when they're biking, going uphill and stuff like that. And that is contributing to global warming. And this all comes out of...
What an idiot.
It all comes out of the conflict between people driving cars and paying for the roads versus cyclists needing to pay their share for the roads and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
So, dishonorable mention to this...
He represents the beautiful city of Kalama, a city of only 2,500 people, which is a hill. I can't imagine anybody in that town's even riding a bicycle.
So he is. What's the name of that town again?
Kalama.
Kalama. So he's the Kalama's calamity.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
He has since retracted that. And I'm paraphrasing here.
How does he retract it? By riding a bike?
Like I said, I'm paraphrasing here, but he came out and said that's probably the dumbest thing I've ever said. Well, I mean that those are my words, not his. But he goes, okay. I was completely wrong.
Two things I want to say here on this one. Well, you know what? Then everybody should be vegetarian, because if you're worrying about the environment, cows.
No, you're right.
Cows. Yes. One of the greenhouse gas is when cows like pass gas.
Yep.
That's
right.
a huge,
I quit eating cows years ago.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I saw, this is not an original thought. I actually saw a comment. This is from a comment on somewhere, Facebook somewhere. Somebody says, well, you know what? Really, if he thinks riding a bike is actually more polluting than cars, why don't we just go into a garage, close the door, turn the car on, and then ride a bike and see how long you will last.
You were on the same thread I was on.
If I ride my stationary bike in the garage, I don't choke to death. All right, Anta, do you have two of them?
This is so stupid. It's not even like.
Go ahead, dive into number 2, sister.
My other one is Bob Woodward. Bob Woodward, okay, an icon in my opinion from the Fourth Estate, because Watergate. I was alive during Watergate, guys. I was listening. I was watching that president resign from office. Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein's,
Bernstein.
Their expose and Deep Throat and all of that.
Or Robert Redford and some other guy.
Dustin Hoffman.
All the president's men.
That other guy.
Right.
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman. But he was an icon in my opinion, and he uncovered an incredible story, followed it to the ground, and I've always had immense respect for this guy. Okay, so now the sequester comes along, and he states in the Washington Post that he works for that sequester was Obama's idea. His friend, who is part of the Obama administration, Gene Sperling, called him in, and they had a little talk about this because Gene Sperling was trying to talk him out of his tree, saying, okay, part of what you're saying is correct, because it was from both sides, actually, the sequester. But you can go back to Boehner's PowerPoint and see that it actually came through a very Republican idea. But the idea of the sequester was to force both sides to go back try at a bigger grand bargain with a mix of entitlements and revenues, even if people had serious disagreements. And that's actually what Sperling said in his email to Bob Woodward. So this famous email that Bob Woodward is upset about, saying that the White House is actually threatening him, here are the words of his friend. But I do truly believe you should rethink your comment about saying that the POTUS asking for revenues, is moving the goalpost. I know you may not believe this, but as a friend, I think you will regret staking out that claim. Those were his words. That's in context. Okay? Everybody who has picked up this story, from Fox to Daily Caller, right through our friends in the conservative media, all the way through, and Woodward even going on Fox, has tried to present the idea that he was being threatened by Gene Sperling, his friend, by the way. They had words, they had a disagreement, and Bob Woodward, in my opinion, went crying to Fox News about this. Okay? And then David Axelrod, actually took him to task this week and right on camera said, oh, come on, this really didn't happen. And Bob Woodward is now backing down from this.
Of course he is.
Saying, oh, you're just putting words in my mouth. I didn't really say I was threatened, blah, blah, blah. Well, yes, you did.
Woodward
does a thing out of it.
Woodward gets pretty unrestricted access to the president, and he doesn't want to lose that. So, of course, he's going to retract it now. All right.
I think we have to wait a little bit on this one because I'm not sure what angle he's playing. Right. I'm sure that there's some comments online that says, "Well, Woodward, he hasn't been relevant since like the late '70s." Well, I don't think we need to.
Relevant for a long time.
I don't think we need to be that mean.
That was
to a person who has like a distinguished career.
Yes.
But I don't. Go ahead, Melvin.
That was actually an Onion headline, and it was a pretty funny little story that they did on him.
Oh.
Yeah, that was an Onion headline. That was.
I think Andy Horowitz has had fun with him too.
Oh yeah, I know. I love the satire sites as much as I love the real news sites. But of course, with those sites, they say we are satire.
No, I saw it on one of the comments. Somebody actually said that.
Did they?
Yeah,
okay.
It's a way to I'm sure that person is on our side. So but I'm like, let's not be like that. I don't know I don't exactly know what angle he is playing.
Right.
And somebody actually thinks that he's losing his mind. But I don't know exactly what angle he's playing. But let's wait on that. Do you want to hear my DM now?
I do. Dive in,
because
brother.
I'm telling a ghost story, so I think I don't want to do consecutive things, right? My distinguished.
You're doing one of those now.
My distinguished dishonorable mention this week goes to Jeb Bush. Well, he was supposed to be, since he is the governor of Florida. So I guess immigration is always in play in terms of the Jeb Bush politics. But he was one of the most prominent Republican advocating outreach to Latinos through Pathway to Citizenship, right? But in a book that was published recently, it argues otherwise. So he is for it, and then he's against it. And then just a couple of days
when he was against it.
When this thing comes out, these few days, now he comes out and clarifies his position and says, no, I'm for Pathway to Citizenship. Okay, this is rather complicated, and he is obviously paving his way to 2016, right? But here's the thing. This is not even close to being over. The flip-flopping on not just the immigration, but so many things, right? But I think what they're trying to do is he's trying to set up a cloud of confusion. So when it's closer to 2016, he can be on every side of every issue. Yeah. Just like Romney.
Didn't Romney already try that unsuccessfully?
Yeah,
right.
He
ran the he ran the Obamacare before Obamacare even exists, and now he's against it. I can freaking see this happening right now because he's trying to set himself up on every side of every issue.
Which is exactly what Romney did. And they debated.
Right, try to confuse everybody yet again to see if that actually works. So, Jeb Bush, for God's sake, not another Bush.
Sometimes you need a new playbook, guys.
Right. You know what? Even I know we talk about this, but I think even though we're not Republicans, I wish there would be new blood on the other side. Because come on, another Bush. Shouldn't that era be over? Please?
That well is dry, and they're just kind of riding on the Bush name now. That's
For
it.
God's sake,
they don't have anybody viable.
Well, Huntsman. I hope somebody like Huntsman would number one, not run to the right.
But
number two, yeah.
Don't the Bush boys have an obligation to Pappy Bush to fulfill? I'm sorry. I think they do. I think George W. has tried to be Pappy Bush, and I think he's happy now painting himself in the bathtub. Right?
You know, Jeb is an acronym, right?
For what?
Well, I forget what it is, but the B in Jeb is for Bush. So when you call him, so it's J-E. So when you say Jeb Bush, you're calling him Jeb Bush, or Jeb Bush, yeah.
Because his name isn't Jeb. It's what is it?
I gotta forget. But his first and middle and last name are J-E-B, and he just goes by Jeb Bush. So it's J-E Bush.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next DM.
I only have one, so Melvin.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, let me get into mine, and then it's ghost story time. Ron Paul files complaint with a UN agency in a fight over his namesake website. Now, libertarian folk hero and retired Representative Ron Paul is fighting to take the domain name ronpaul.com back from a legion of loyal supporters, and he's turning to an unlikely source for help, filing a complaint with an agency of the United Nations, which he has criticized for years. Not just him. All Republicans have criticized him for years. So here's the thing. The UN, bad. Government, bad. He wants the name Ron Paul. He wants the domain name ronpaul.com back. I need the government and the UN over here, please. Now, obviously, I'm following a theme tonight. All these Republicans that don't like the government, but when they need something, can I get a little bit of that government, please?
Especially the libertarian wing.
The libertarians are the worst.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's my DM.
Hypocritical.
Nice.
To say the least.
Okay. So, are you guys ready for
We are.
some ghost story?
Ooh.
Okay. So technically, this is not a ghost story. So, just for entertainment value, I'll tell you.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is probably maybe 10 years ago.
Yes.
I used to live in Kirkland, up where King's Gate is. So at night it's pretty dark, and there's a lot of trees around. So my apartment at that time was actually facing a forest, right? So it's really dark, and it got really interesting that couple of weeks after I saw remember Blair Witch.
Yes.
Right? I keep when I walk around, I keep looking for stuff hanging on the trees.
Oh, jeez.
Right? Pretty scary, right? And the other thing too is it's not exactly like there's nothing behind the forest, right? There's actually down the hill there's a hillside, and there's a row. You can barely see the row. Like there's a main drag actually right down the hill, like way over there, far away. So there are noises that are coming down. And at that time, actually, there was. This is actually around. Yeah, my. It's okay. It's from way back, so I might as well tell it. Around Totem Lake. So there's some factories over there, and one of the factory happens to do I think some steel work. And for some reason, they work a lot of hours. So from time to time at night, it will be this quiet, right? Bong. This noise, right? Coming from like behind darkness.
Yeah.
So it's like pretty weird, right? So it was okay. So now, and this apartment complex, it's facing the woods, right? So one side of it is really dark. So the only light. Like there are street lights, but they are the white fluorescent lights. So it's really like, pale white, right?
Right.
Okay, so one night, so I walked, after rehearsal or something. I went back up to my place, and then I realized, oh man, I left something in the car, right? So so I walked back down the stairs. I'm walks down the stairs, and right away I'm looking at the forest, right? It's all dark over there. I walked closer, and then suddenly I saw two faces staring at me.
Whoa.
They're just there. They're two faces just looking at me.
Thanks.
And I'm like, no way.
The hell is that?
Serious? So I'm like, I paused for like maybe 2 seconds. I'm like, okay, what should I do? So I walk closer. And I'm like, those two faces are right there. There's the face and the eyes. The four eyes are staring at me, right? I'm like, oh, gosh, this could be interesting. And I couldn't scream, right? Because it's night. I don't want to wake up the neighbors, right? So for some reason, I was brave enough to just keep walk closer and see what it is. And guess what it is?
Oh, no.
It's an owl.
They're two raccoons.
Oh.
Okay, so here's what happened. Raccoons, they climb trees at night,
yes,
right? So I'm coming down, right? So I'm sure they are freaked out. So they're holding on to the trees. They're looking at me, right? Now raccoons, they got white fur on their face.
Yeah, they do.
So if you have like a distant fluorescent light, the only light that get reflected off their face is the little bit of white light, right?
Yeah.
But you can't see everything because you can't see anything because everything behind them is dark, right? So if you can picture it from kind of a distance, you only have that kind of light with a white fur like that. The only thing you will see is just a face and eyes.
Oh.
That's my story, right? But at the time, it's pretty scary. I gotta tell you, and I don't know why I have the courage to walk forward, walk forward and figure out what happened. But you know what? Here's the thing: if I don't find out, I turn around and run back home. That would always be a mystery. That would always be a ghost story. And then the next couple of nights, if I keep telling people about this, next couple of nights, I'll keep hearing people say, you know what? Last night there are like people all over the forest. you know. So
and the other thing is, Kevin, you are glad now that you didn't scream.
I did not because you know, I always try to find a logical and scientific explanation first when I
did the same thing.
That kind of stuff. But you know, there are always that, like, you know, 10% of stuff that you can't explain. But I'm pretty sure most of the so-called ghost stories are like, you know, I just heard about this, and I'm not sure you guys know. Sometimes, like cemeteries, there are these ghost fires, like the greenish fire that, you know, sparks or they just burn. It's from the phosphorus from the bones.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So it's like there's a scientific explanation to most everything. But, you know, so that's my ghost story. But,
And on that note, I'm going to try to sleep now.
Yeah. Just don't go outside. Just don't look. Yeah.
Holy crap.
You know what? What? Actually, the really more scary thing about raccoons is they're going to, like, turn over your trash cans and, you know, leave a
try
mess.
and bother your cat.
And feast on the sweet garbage inside.
All right. This is the show for this week, and I'll see you guys again next week, okay?
Goodbye, everybody. Good night. You can't put out woohoo, you know that.